Take two. There we go, because I fumbled the first one, standard. But welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another transfer update show. This is going to be a lot more frequent for you guys as opposed to the last couple months, because now Chelsea are finally moving and we've got a lot to discuss. So we're going to be running this show at least once a week. Just going to be bouncing off each other, talking about all the latest transfer news, predictions as we get closer towards the start of the season. Really makes sense for preseason. But once we get into the swing of Premier League games, we're going to start talking more about what we expect to see in the coming weeks. But you guys already know what to do. Hit the like button, subscribe, let us know all your thoughts down in the comment section below. And shout out KC, man, my co-host. Welcome to the channel. Hope you're all good. Hope you've had a lovely week, man.
Yeah, man. It's been good. Nothing. You said everything that needs to be said. Appreciate, obviously you giving up your time to just talk Chelsea in it. So yeah, let's go, man. Let's go. Let's get straight into it.
Yeah, vice versa, man. You already know what it is. But how are you feeling about the current state of Chelsea? I think that's a good way to start, because back in May or even June, everything just looked bleak, depressing. We're sitting 10th in the league. We're not doing anything in the market. It seems like a lot of our key players are trying to leave. Some of them have respectfully stayed, thank God to them lot. But it felt very bleak looking into the future. And I feel like now in the space of a month, the level of optimism that I've seen going into this season is something that is near rivaling how we felt this time last year. And I think the main thing is, like, this time last year, we were meant to be making the moves that we're currently seeing Chelsea do now. And now at least we're there. It might have been a year too late. Still deserve criticism for dragging it for so long, but it feels like surprisingly optimistic. And I don't think a lot of us expected to be feeling this way going into the next season. But how are you feeling, bro?
Yeah, man. I mean, everything that you said, really, to be fair. I mean, at the end of last season, I mean, it was absolutely terrible. I mean, 10th place, no European football. 9 teams were able to qualify full European football out of the Premier League, and the fact that we weren't one of them was an absolute disgrace. I mean, I didn't want anything to do with Chelsea throughout the summer. Obviously, luckily we had the World Cup, so that was a bit nice. As you said, exactly, man, exactly, because I couldn't deal with any more Chelsea, man. But the start of the transfer window, as you said, it was looking very, very bleak, especially with the whole Xhaka situation. That happened.
I forgot that was our January summer saga. No, that was our January window saga. Fucking Xhaka. Lovely prospect and everything, but like shit, we needed some experience through the door, and that's what we were doing just to bring in Sarr. And we wasted his entire year, by the way.
And I feel so bad for him, but it just goes to show how incompetent the sporting directors are and how incompetent the board is. If you're going to bring back someone from their loan, let them be playing week in, week out. And it also shows how incompetent Rosenior was as well, because Rosenior's, advocated for him to come back. He'd worked with him, all of us, and he was actually playing okay in the games that he was playing, bar the PSG game, but he played him at right back. And what you expect him to put on a masterclass performance, and then since then you drop the kid. The kid is 20 years old, so obviously that done him a world of confidence. That really helped his confidence. But with the Xhaka situation, even going into this summer transfer window with Xhaka as well, Granit Xhaka with Xabi Alonso coming in, I understand people weren't really too annoyed about it, and I can understand why. But for me, it was always about the principle. Xabi Alonso has come in. We're trying to create a new project under him. You have to back him the way that, you have to back him at all costs. If he wants a player, you have to try and get the player at all costs. So us missing out on Xhaka, and the way that we missed out on Xhaka, and the way that, we were blowballing in Sunderland, I thought, oh, they're gonna start doing the money pinching thing again. But as you said, the signing of Morgan Rogers coming out of nowhere was a huge statement signing, and it was fantastic. And I did say, as much as I love the signing of Morgan Rogers, I needed my centre-back to come through the door. And Maxence Lacroix being tied up, being done, the deal getting done for £52 million as well. That's an absolute bargain. For people that know Crystal Palace, Steve Parish, you don't sell cheap. If he sets a price, you pay that price. If you don't pay that price, it's time to leave the room. There's a reason why Mark Gay was actually sold for 20 million in the end, because originally he was actually holding out for 70 million, but Newcastle wasn't meeting its valuation. Now, he got put in a corner where he had to sell Mark Gay for 20 million. Wilfred Zaha was another one as well. When Wilfred Zaha was at Palace,
he wasted his whole 20s over there. That's a great point.
Exactly. But the reason why he wasted his whole 20s is because when they were interested, he was holding up for 70 million, but the clubs weren't willing to pay 70 million. So he ended up going on a free. That's my whole point. With Steve Parish, he sets a price and you pay that price. If you don't pay that price, he ain't going to give you the player. So the fact that Igbali went to Steve Parish to talk about a player that had 3 years left on his contract and to get that asking price down from 60 million to 52 million, that's great bit of business, you know. Credit where credit's due. I don't like Igbali, and I think 99% of the fan base don't like him. But if there's one thing I'll give to him is he's a good negotiator. He gets things done quickly. You know, even Morgan Rogers, you know, as much as people like to talk about, you know, we overpaid 117 million. Let's be real. If Elliot Anderson is going for 116 million and Tonali's going for 100 million, you're telling me Morgan Rogers ain't more than that, you know? Like, you know,
it's not even just like the way the market is, it's also the valuation from the selling club. That's why I understood Sunderland's stance with Granit Xhaka. As much as I'll never believe that he's worth 30 million at his current age, I get why Sunderland are valuing him at that amount. And the same thing for Morgan Rogers. It's just, if you want him, you have to overpay.
The price.
This is the market where you gotta just pay what they ask for and keep it stepping.
And it's not even just that. It's just we're Chelsea Football Club. We are a big team. If you're a big team, you're gonna always overpay for players. That's just how it is. You know, we're not a club where we can, you know, do the whole development process situation. We usually buy the finished good. We usually buy the finished player. So we were always going to have to overpay. And I truly believe 117 million, if anything, at the end of the day, if you're looking at it, I think it was a bit of a bargain. I think, you know, Aston Villa would have probably held up for a lot more than 117 million. If it was Arsenal, I think they would have probably
wanted 130.
Exactly. And we got it for 117 million. And that was literally because Igbali went to the owner himself and done the deal one-on-one. As you said, pay 1 million above the record transfer sale. Everything's included, no add-ons. Got the deal done. So
and it's also just not a disrespectful offer. Like if you're asking for 130 and then the buying club says they only want to give you 80 to 100 million, then it's like, okay, we're nowhere near each other on negotiations or valuation. Why are we still talking? At least Chelsea, we came in and said it's a 13 million difference. You're still getting 170 million for a player that I think you paid under 10 million for when you got him from Middlesbrough.
Yeah,
that's okay. That's easier to deal with.
Exactly. And
they're taking Garnacho on loan too, which I mean,
yo, Subject 49, yo, I never have to see that guy in my club again. I mean,
I am going to be the biggest Garnacho stan this season. I will be chanting his name, celebrating everything he does, because I do not want you back. Stay over there, have a lovely season. You don't even play against us.
You know what's even great about it though? Is I think he will achieve those clauses in his loan because Emery wanted him. Usually with Emery, he's a type of guy where if he wants to play, he's going to play the player. If he doesn't want to play it, if he doesn't want the player in the first place, he ain't going to play him. We saw with Harvey Elliott.
I don't know, man. I got too low of an expectation on Garnacho, innit?
Hey, listen, man. 10 GA. You don't think he can get 10 GA for as crappy?
It's not the 10 GA. It's more the appearances.
I think he could
have like 25 appearances or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's 25. I think he get 25 appearances. If it's in all competitions, he can get 25 appearances, 100%.
But like that sets the scene for him to have like a shit 20 appearances, and then Emery just changing his mind and just going, yeah, no, you're going back.
Nah, I think Emery will. I think Emery will see it through. I think Emery will see it through. Again, this is a man that apparently Emery really wants. And if Emery really wants a guy, he will actually take him underneath his wing and give him time to develop. Now, as we both know, he is dead food. I don't know how he's going to develop under Emery, but, you know, Emery is one of the best managers in the league. So I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up coming good at Villa. But as you said, like the fact that he's not even wearing my jersey again, like for this season at least, like that's a win. That's a win for me. So, yeah. Like how the way the transfer window, all in all, how the way the transfer window has been going now, it's giving me a bit more optimism for the season coming ahead. You know, I truly believe with the signings that we've made now, if the transfer window was to get shut today, I think we can get top 4. I don't see why, you know, the current group of players that we have right now, so the starting 11 is not capable of getting top 4 right now.
I think that's a definitive point. Like, absolutely. This team with 1 game a week and the squad that we've already assembled should already be there, especially when you look at some of the other competitors that we have around us. Villa are now going to have 2 games a week. They never really respond well to that. Sunderland, they're going to have 2 games a week. Brighton, 2 games a week. They're not used to it. This is the first time they've been in that competition. Same as Bournemouth. So I think that's going to be able to help us a lot more. Because usually them tricky mid-table sides that always around the race for Europe, sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't. Now they've got it because we had to be crap and so did Tottenham. Tottenham will also be able to handle all them teams having 2 games a week well too, because they're also having a good window. But for us, top 4 as a minimum should be sorted. I'm now looking for us to make the moves for us to look even higher than that. I don't want a top 4 race. I want a title race. We should have been in the title race last season.
Honestly.
But the moves that we're making now, we should have made last season. I'm glad we're doing it now, but we didn't do it then. We're a few signings away.
Yeah. I agree. And I was actually going to say yesterday on the podcast with Alex, Scott, and Charlie, I literally said, if we sign an elite midfielder, i.e. a Baleba, Bruno G, Alex Scott, a left back, just for some cover for Hato, whether it be the Chavaria guy or, whether it be the Chavaria guy or another left back, let's say Anthony Robertson, let's just say out the blue, another centre back, go and hijack the deal with Bournemouth that they're having for Antonio Silva, or go and hijack the deal with Forest for Diomande, one of the two, and we get a competent world-class goalkeeper like a Mike Maignan. I've said already, I truly do believe we could compete for the title, but it depends on those 4 signings. Because as you said, 1 game a week, all our other competitors down below are having 2 games a week. And then also, if you look above as well, Arsenal, no offense to them, like I'm not even trying to disrespect them, but they're not like City or Liverpool back in the day.
No. They're exploring talks for Vinny.
Exactly, exploring talks for Vinny. Even like that's what I'm saying. That
means he's happening. It means it's going to happen, guys.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, let's be real. That's not happening, especially with his wage demands of 700k a week. I mean, that's absolutely like there's no way.
Vinny don't want to leave. Madrid don't even want to get rid of him.
Exactly.
It's all just Arsenal fans getting a hard on because their name got put in the same sentence as Vinny.
And because
please compose yourself, guys.
And because they got food chained as well by us, man. Like they're thinking, oh yeah,
we don't mind Rodgers losing Rodgers. We're getting Vinny. What made you think that was ever going to happen? You're going to have to pay 150 minimum before we even get into talking about the wages that you're going to have to offer as well. And then as soon as you offer that, Saka, what do you mean he's on 400 and I'm not? Rice, what do you mean he's on 400 and I'm not? Your wage structure's already fucked, mate. You want to do that again? Cool.
That's what I'm saying. And even then, them as champions, them as defending champions, they don't strike fear into me as, a City did or even a Liverpool did, because they had the squad there that was built for longevity. They had the squad there that you could say, yeah, they're competing for the next 5-10 years. Arsenal, they do have that squad to a degree, but it's like they're beatable. Let's put it that way. They're very, very beatable. I look at them and I say that we can beat them.
We shot ourselves in the foot both times against them. We were better than them before Caicedo got the red card, and then better than them after the fact. And then even in the 2-1 loss at the Emirates, Arsenal were only good for like the first 20 minutes. All 3 goals came from corners. And even when we went down to 10 men, we were better than them.
Exactly.
They just sat back and just kept trying to absorb pressure. But the problem is we constantly go down a man.
Exactly.
And I just got to hope that changes next season. Because that's a bigger problem with the squad. And that goes past the managers. Because I think for the last 3 seasons in a row, we've had the most yellows in the league. This season, we were clear for the most reds. I think we nearly broke a record with that. But we've always been a squad that seems to lose their heads a little bit too much. And I'm hoping that's something Xabi Alonso can change. But it seems to be a bigger squad issue as opposed to anything to do with the managers. I know the managers are meant to be handling the discipline, but clearly there's a common factor here. And that's just the players that we got. So that's one thing I hope we can improve on this summer.
Yeah, I agree. But it just goes to show this is what happens when you sign under 25s and little kids and you don't sign any experience. They're just it's just kids running kids. Of course they're going to be immature. Of course they're going to be picking up stupid red cards. As you said, although the manager should take some, accountability for it, at the end of the day, the manager ain't playing on the pitch. It's, he ain't controlling their emotions. It's their responsibility to control their emotions. So yeah, this is why it's even more important to sign experience. And someone with Lacroix, he's a leader. He's someone that's very mature, level-headed. So I think his presence alone, just being in the dressing room, will really help the youngsters in taming their in terms of taming their emotions. But yeah, Arsenal I don't think are that great. Liverpool and City are going through their transitional phase. As much as you love Maresca, and let me just put it out there, I was a Maresca inner. I truly did. I think the way that he left, I can understand why people will say he's a snake, but at the same time, you've got to look at it from a bigger picture, and you've got to understand, he was working with, the most incompetent sporting directors and one of the most evil owners out there,
Just collateral damage, unfortunately.
Exactly. With him, we all know he's a bit inconsistent. Like, there'll be games where he'll put on a tactical masterclass, and then there's other games where he's a bit iffy. Liverpool are going to go through their transition phase with Iriola, and Iriola's style of football does take quite a while for it to be implemented and for it to be effective. Tottenham are Tottenham, so I don't really care about Tottenham. And Manchester United, they could be in the title race as well, but they haven't made a signing yet that I've looked at, and I'm like, yeah, you guys are serious, because they still need to get a left back, which they haven't gotten. They still need to get a centre back, and they still need to get, a really world-class midfielder. Because as much as Tielemans is good, Tielemans doesn't actually solve their issues in midfield. They need a destroyer, and they think that it's going to happen with Andre Santos. And although Andre Santos is good, he ain't a signing that you look at and you think, yeah, that's
they need someone who covers a lot more ground. Like, I think Tielemans helps them progressively, because they don't really have like a player that's going to break the lines as consistently as he will. But they're all slow. All their midfielders are slow, and I think like if you have a PNP type midfielder against them, they'll just bully the fuck out of all of them, because they ain't really that athletic. You slap a Belabor in there or something, someone that's just going to eat up ground and be a mad duel winner. Now I look at that midfield and I think,
this could possibly. Exactly. So all those teams that I've mentioned, they've got weaknesses in which I'm not saying we don't have weaknesses, but I'm not saying they're that much better than us than that they're going to run away with the title and we're going to be far behind them.
And we're just going to have a fitness advantage on everybody once we start getting deep into the season.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Another midfielder, centre back, left back, and goalkeeper. Dare I say, blue ribbons in May, if things go right. But again, let's just hold back on that before
God willing, man. But I think we're already looking at one midfielder. It could be two if Enzo leaves, and I'm going to need Enzo to leave as soon as possible, because I just want players that want to be here at this point.
I agree.
But we got I think we're looking at Alex Scott as the Santos replacement. That's what I was reading from Simon Phillips. That's why we've already dropped a bid on him that got rejected. And I know there'll be questions about where the minutes go for him and everything. I don't care. I like Santos, but I just think even from what I've seen of Alex Scott, I think he just offers a bit more all-round from what I've seen from Santos. I like him as a line breaker. I think he reads the game well from a defensive aspect. But I also think, like, from what I'm seeing with Scott, I think he can impact the game deep in the pitch and higher up the pitch. And I haven't really seen that from Santos higher up the pitch. Technically, much better dribbler than him, because I think he can just move around a little bit quicker just as a base. But his dribbling technique is very good, and he's got a good eye for a pass. Yeah, he won't get a lot of minutes. Yeah, we will be overpaying for someone that probably won't be starting for us. But, I mean, you get into the Champions League next season and having Alex Scott as a depth option, that is really promising. And that's a long-term investment for Chelsea for the future that I'd be really happy with. I don't know about you. What are you saying, bro?
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%. I think Alex Scott is, his development has been quite nice as well. Like, he's developed quite nicely at Bournemouth, as you said, and he's quite an underrated passer of the ball. Can glide with the ball, and also he's defensively very good. Like, he's got a knack for always just making them type of last ditch tackles in a good way, in a sense of he's always just there, just being an absolute pest, and that paired with Caicedo will do Caicedo a world of good, because as much as fans that loved Enzo, including myself, I really do highly rate Enzo. The problem is he wasn't doing the job as a midfielder. As much as he is a great box crasher, gets you GA, he didn't do the job as a midfielder. Alex Scott will come in and instantly help Caicedo do the job as a midfielder. And with that Caicedo and Scott pairing, I really do believe will do us a world of good, whether he starts or he's on the bench. So yeah, I think Alex Scott as a replacement for Santos, even him being a starter, even if he was a signing for him to be in a starter, would be a very, very good signing. But for him as depth, yeah, that's the type of signings that you make to show that you're wanting to take your squad to the next level, not just top four. We're talking now about challenging for titles and competitions.
Just on the Enzo replacement, the idea is meant to be like one of Bruno G or Wharton if he was to leave. Do you have a preference out of the two?
For me, it's Wharton. I think Wharton is fantastic.
Okay.
I watch a lot of Crystal Palace because I don't live actually that far from the stadium. I've got a lot of Crystal Palace friends. I think I personally believe Wharton is better than Anderson, and I personally believe I don't think he's better than Bruno G, but his age, the potential that he has, and what he can offer to the squad is a lot better than maybe a Bruno G. And yes, he'll be more expensive, but he will have. But he's about to enter his prime. He's only like, I think, 21, 22. So he's about to enter his prime. Bruno G is like 27, 28. So he's in his prime, but we might get 4 or 5 good seasons from him. With Wharton, we can get like at least a good 10 seasons out of him. But the issue is he's going to be A, expensive, and B, Palace, when they sell one marquee player, to get them to sell another player, it's going to be very, very hard. So we might have to charge a premium. So we might have to wait until the next summer transfer window in order to get Adam Wharton for a slightly better price, because that is going to be the next key signing. But I'd prefer Wharton. But if anything, I think I'd actually go in for a Baleba out of the two. I'd even go in for a Baleba. I know Baleba's had an off season. I know he didn't play that great, but the promise that guy has and what he was able to do, in the seasons prior to last
seems more like a Roma for me though than a sitter. That's my only thing with him, because I see him as like in the mold of a Caicedo or a Kante. Obviously not anywhere similar in terms of level, but like stylistically covers ground, breaks up play within the middle of the park. But I don't really see those profiles as like sitting sixes. Like Caicedo can do it, but you don't really get his full potential when he's there.
Yeah.
Whereas like a Bruno G, I see him as a sitter more. I see Wharton as a sitter more. That's why I think like that would be the great profile to have, because I want to unleash Caicedo. I feel like Caicedo's got to drop back a lot more for Chelsea just so we can allow Enzo to go forward, because Enzo just don't have the legs or the agility or the defensive awareness to do that sitting role without someone else holding his hand for it. I get what you're saying with him. I just don't know if that's the right profile for us to go for. Right. And he's also going to cost around 100 million too with that. You got to get those ones spot on.
Yeah. And I mean, you know what? I mean, I kind of hear what you're saying as well. But I think the reason why I say him is because, again, Wharton, if you were to get him this transfer window, we're having to pay more than the Elliot Anderson fee. That's a fact. Like there's no way Steve Parish is going to let Leclerc and Wharton go. It would have to take a monumental bid to get Wharton out of Palace.
We might have to do a PSR bro type thing like we did with Villa.
Exactly. And then with Newcastle, Bruno G is looking like he wants to go to Arsenal. With his age and where he is in his career, he wants to be winning now. And unfortunately, we're not in the place where we can actually guarantee him to
I know, but the one thing that's going to save us is that Arsenal are moving stingy as fuck right now. And they're just not going to pay the valuation that Newcastle
Exactly. Where we might come in, offer the bid, and if Bruno G wants to come, I'll take him in with open arms. No problem about it. So, yeah, I mean, listen, I think for me personally, I'll go for Wharton ahead of Bruno G. But I think realistically, we might end up buying Bruno G. And if we do, then that is a signing that I'm looking at thinking, title charge. Dare I say title charge, So, yeah.
Fair enough. And I hear it. I don't think there's a wrong answer with like Wharton or Bruno G. I'm calm with either of them. I think they both give us varying different things. They can both sit. Wharton's younger. You can have him for more years. You can have all of his prime years at Chelsea. Bruno, you're in the middle of it, but you also bring another leader into the dressing room. And I think that's also another intangible that puts him just on the same level as Wharton in terms of importance. Get me one of them. I'm with you. One of them and I'm happy. Centre-back. Now, I've seen a few links. Seems like John Stones is starting to heat up a little bit more. Apparently, he's starting to like warm a lot more to potentially joining Chelsea. Obviously, he's still weighing up all of his options. There's been quiet rumors. No one reputable said it, but like there's been talks about Christian Romero potentially being someone that Chelsea look at. Tottenham are looking to try and offload him as well. I don't really remember if there's been another centre-back name that's been linked
Uh,
with
Ro-
us.
Ramon. Ramon.
Yes,
No.
Ramon. The last thing we heard was that Como are not trying to sell him, and I think they're re-signing him into a new contract. But that was a name Chelsea were looking at. And obviously, we still have conversations with Chalobah, and they're dragging it because Serie A clubs, and they're just horrible to negotiate with. Who would you want, though, at the back? Out of those three options, or like anyone semi-realistic that you think might be out there that's not been mentioned?
I think Diomande for me, Usman Diomande out of Sporting CP. I mean, the
Ain't he
guy
going
is
Forest or Palace? I
he's
swear he
going
hasn't signed on for
Forest.
someone.
Forest are trying to bid 40 million, Sporting 180, and I see why Sporting are holding out. The guy is worth 80 million. I mean, if the guy was English, and he was in the Premier League, you know, he'd be £100 million player. I've watched him a couple times at Sporting.
Getting closer to a total agreement at 40 million euros.
Which is an absolute. If Forest are able to pull that off, that's an absolute bargain. That's an absolute bargain for a player of his caliber, for a player of his stature. I don't know why we haven't gone in and tried to hijack the deal. This is a guy, again, he's got bags of potential. He's quick. He's got, you know, he's a straight up bully, you know, loves to defend, you know, he's got a good passing range to him as well. He can play in a back three and a back four. Obviously, underneath Amarim, he played in a back three and you know, he's played in a back four before. He's a winner. I know it's the Portuguese league, but still you're a winner. Like if you win, you win. And he's been someone that has been very, very impressive. I've been very, very impressed with him for the past 2-3 seasons, and I'm very, very surprised we've never like once entertained any
especially with the fact that we would have had talks over Quenda or something like that. So we would have communications with Lisbon.
Exactly. And he's what, 22? So he fits within the young players model where you can resell for a higher price. So I think for me, Usman Diomande would be someone I'd go in for personally. I think he's my prime option. Someone that can come off the bench as well. He doesn't have to start every game. You know, you're slowly integrating him into the team. I think he'd be great. Antonio Silva, I'm not really that much of a fan of. He's a very good centre back. I mean, Portuguese international, but he doesn't really excite me as much as a Diomande. Ramon, I'll be honest with you, I've not watched any clips of him. I know he done well at Como and was a big part in helping them qualify for the Champions League, but
he just sounds like similar to what Xabi Alonso's asking for in terms of like a tall dual winner that's physical and good in the air. And he's meant to be a very good progressor of the ball. So it just sounds like a centre-back option for us, which is obviously massively important. We saw how we suffered without that last season.
Exactly. And for me, I've said it. For me, my golden rule is this: if Xabi Alonso wants the player and he knows the player, just get him the player. Like I don't know who it is, I don't care who it is, just get him the player because he knows how to. He knows what he's going to do with him. So for me, I haven't watched Ramon, but with the description that you've given, I think he'd be a good addition to the team as well, because he would. The strengths that he has will limit the weaknesses that we have in the backline, which is literally physicality, winning aerial headers. So he will bring that strength onto the team, which is a very good sign. And then John Stones. For me, John Stones, I would like to have him in terms of like experience. I mean, he's just a winner, like one of the best centre backs of our generation. I think one of the most underrated players in our generation. Has played underneath the greatest manager of all time in Pep Guardiola, one of the greatest managers of all time. And, you know, he can still offer something. I think if you were to ask him to play 10 to 15 games in a season, he can do a job. But my issue is, A, he's injury prone, and B, he's on 240, 240 a week. Will he be willing to take a pay cut to 200k a week? Now, I know people say it's only 30, 40k, but you know how the way some of these footballers are, you know, some of these footballers are a bit, you know, tight when it comes to money. You know, if you ask them to take a 10k pay cut, they're having a hissy fit about it. So I don't know. Would he be willing to take a pay cut to come to Chelsea? If that's the case, then I'll bring him. I'd bring him. I wouldn't mind. And Romero, I'm not really sold on Romero. He's a quality
Stones. I need to check his wages actually. Now you mention it.
Yeah, he's definitely on. I think he's on around 230, 240 a week, if I'm not mistaken.
250k a week.
250.
He'd have to take a pay cut though. Like, seeing as you're not even with City anymore, you have to completely renegotiate that.
But then
maybe you give him a little sign-on bonus to like circumnavigate the base wage.
Yeah. Which, I mean, if that's the case and he's willing to do that, then I wouldn't mind having him at the club. I mean, that leadership alone is something that you can't put a price on. You know, and that would be very, very good for the players to be around. Romero for me, I wouldn't really, I wouldn't really entertain a deal. I think there's just better options out there than Romero, because Romero he's just such a rash defender, and that's the one thing I hate in my centre backs. Centre backs, defenders that are just absolutely rash. It's like they don't think before they do things, and he's known to have a poor discipline record, gets a lot of red cards, makes stupid fouls, and it's a shame because it overshadows him as an actual defender, as an actual player, and he's actually a very good defender.
Do you feel like a bit of it's Tottenham tax, though? Because he seems like a lot calmer I say for Argentina. I still think he makes better decisions for Argentina, even though they kind of get away with a bit more. Being at Tottenham, though, you're struggling week in and week out, and I get how chaotic it can be trying to play for Tottenham. And it probably forces those sort of rash decisions. Whereas if you're at Chelsea and you're dominating the ball a bit more and you're controlling games more frequently, that should limit those bozo moments. You can't be losing your head and throwing out rash tackles if you're dominating the game like you would expect a player of Romero's profile to do at a club like Chelsea's.
But I mean, he's paired next to Van de Ven, who's one of the better centre-backs in this league. And Van de Ven doesn't, move as mad as Romero. So I think it's not even a Tottenham tax. I just think it's a him issue. Now,
I don't know, even Van de Ven back end of last season, I was looking at him sideways. He was making mistake after mistake. And it's not even like the back line you look at when you're like really critical of Spurs. It's that midfield that it just has no progression about them and will lose duels for fun unless it's Gallagher. Or the front line, they're all garbage, really, bar Kudus. Like, Tell will give you something on a good half. Richarlison's inconsistent. We've seen how bad he can be at times. Solanke's wasteful. And I look at that Spurs team as a whole, you're just going to put more pressure on that back line the more you play. And I can't blame him for losing his head with those forwards.
No, and I hear it. And I mean, it is a valid point. It is a valid point. But at the same time, it doesn't really negate him moving the way he's moving. As you said, for Argentina, he's a bit more calmer, but it's not by that much, like we all saw their antics throughout the World Cup. So for me, it just wouldn't be a good fit. I think, especially with Xabi Alonso coming in, we just need players that are just like level-headed. They're just level-headed. They know what they're doing. Their discipline's on check. Like, we can't add another bozo like Romero into the squad, unfortunately. Like, I wouldn't really be for that, in my personal opinion. Like, that's just not
that's fair enough. You lot in the chat, let us know if you agree or disagree with the whole Romero situation. But that's fair enough, man. What did we have next? So, goalkeepers. I've seen, apparently, Xabi Alonso is going to wait till after preseason to decide what he wants to do with the goalkeeper situation, which already sounds like a very good thing in terms of we can pivot on whatever our plan is, just based off if the manager wants to change things. Because all we've heard is that we're not going to go in for a goalkeeper. It's going to be Penders or Sanchez or that's it. And I don't even really like the idea of Penders coming in unless he's already a guaranteed starter. I don't know how you're feeling about it, but I get if you're doing the Petr Cech thing, where like he just came in, immediately displaced Cudicini and was just trusted throughout the season. And he backed that trust as well. But if you're not doing that, with one game a week, you're just wasting this guy's minutes. You're just sitting there, just like not developing.
Yeah,
what do you feel about the goalkeeper situation?
I agree. And if you want me to be honest, I don't think Penders is ready yet. I don't think he's ready yet. Like I watched from the couple games that I watched from Strasbourg, because I got some time to watch some Strasbourg games. He has a mistake in him. And the guy is 20 years old, so it's quite young for a goalkeeper. The last thing that I need for him is to come as Chelsea's number one, make a couple mistakes, and people are already on his neck. He needs another loan for me. I think he needs still another 2-3 years out on loan. I think Courtois, we sent him out on loan to Atletico Madrid for what, like 2-3 seasons?
3 years.
3 years before he came back into the setup and became number one. I think Penders needs another 2-3 years out of loan. He's not ready. He's not ready for me. And as for Sanchez, I mean, Xabi Alonso is a nice guy, because that guy should have been gone 2 seasons ago. I understand that he had a redemption arc and he was a lot better than his previous seasons, but for me, he's not it. Like, if you look at every single Premier League title winning squad, every single squad that has competed, that has the best squads of all time, they all have one thing in common, which is a world-class goalkeeper. They don't have a mediocre goalkeeper or a good goalkeeper or a very good goalkeeper. Look at Arsenal, for example. Raya's world-class. You know, Man City, you know, when they were dominating the Premier League, Edison, world class. You know, Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp, Alisson, world class. You know, us lot, you know, Petr Cech, world class. Courtois, world class. You know, every single title winning squad has a world class goalkeeper. You can't get away with winning the league with a mediocre or a good goalkeeper. So for me, if you know, I'm looking in the long run, if you want to be competing for the title, Sanchez needs to be replaced. So let's just replace Sanchez now rather than later. Now, my issue is as well is who do we replace him with? Because people are talking about Diogo Costa, but Mike Penders is the future. If we bring in a Diogo Costa, we're already bringing in a guy that's already in his prime. He's someone that will be in the sticks for the next 10 years. So that ruins the development for Mike Penders. And I would like to I'd actually want to give Mike Penders a chance in goal as number one. So for me, if we're going to go in for a goalkeeper, let's just go in for a goalkeeper that's an upgrade from Sanchez, because we can upgrade from Sanchez, get 3-4 very good years out of him. As his contract runs out and he's finished, then you bring in Mike Penders. It's a similar situation with Petr Cech and Thibaut Courtois. Courtois came in towards the back end of Cech's career and we kind of knew like his time was up. But the time that he came in was perfect timing, because literally it was like as Petr Cech was declining, Thibaut Courtois immediately comes in and it's like, you know, he doesn't miss a beat and we immediately, you know, won the Premier League. So for me, if we can go in for the Mike Maignan deal again, let's try and get in the Mike Maignan deal, get him in the sticks for 3-4 seasons. He'll give us 3-4 very good seasons, outstanding seasons. Who knows? We might even win the Premier League during that time. You know, when his contract is done, we sell him off to Saudi, we'll ship him off, say thank you for your services. Then Mike Penders comes in as the number one. He should be ready by then. And then, you know, we just carry on doing what we're doing. But that's just my situation with the goalkeeper. That's my opinion on the goalkeeper situation.
Fairs. On the outgoings, just quickly, do you see us getting the likes of Malo Gusto and like Pedro Neto out of the club? Because I'm looking especially at Neto in this winger market, and I'm seeing everyone going for around 100 million or something like that. And I'm wondering, how high do we really value Neto at? And how much could we really get for him if these clubs start becoming a bit desperate? See the rumblings with Liverpool and Neto, they're only starting to get louder and louder. Tottenham's got a bit of interest now. We're hearing City might have some interest. Juventus as well, Saudi clubs. If you're getting this sort of interest, we could probably get a stupid offer for him if we play our cards right.
That's if we had competent sporting directors. I don't trust the sporting directors to get a good deal. I mean, Andre Santos went for 50 million. We could have gotten a lot more for Andre Santos. Let's be real, especially in this market with the midfielders. You're telling me that Anderson is 116 million and you can only get 50 million for Andre Santos. So I don't trust these sporting directors to get a good deal. I think if we play our cards right, we could get 80 to 90 million for Pedro Neto. I think we could fleece a club at 80 to 90 million. But realistically speaking, if we're going to be realistic here, I think we'll probably get at most 60 million, 55 to 60 million.
60 or 70 million would do me just fine.
Exactly. That would be exactly. And
that would already be an upgrade on what we got him for, 51 million.
51 million, yeah. So that is a bit of profit, and you know, it's good for the books in Blueco's eyes. For me, where he goes to, I think, you know, I can understand the Liverpool links because he would actually fit Irio's system perfectly. I mean, high energy, loves to press, loves to run around. Like, you know, Iriola would love that. You know, obviously City with Maresca, that was his guy. Like, that was one of his top guys. And Juve, I don't know about Juve. And then Saudi, obviously Saudi will always buy, you know, whatever star that they can buy and throw a stupid ton of money on him. But he's made it clear apparently that he wants Champions League football. So with Liverpool and City now having Champions League football, I think we can get a deal done for him. I really do think, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes. Malo Gusto, I think we can get, you know, a decent offer for him. I think we signed him for like 34 million pounds. I think if we send
around 20s, somewhere in the 20s.
Oh, in the 20s, even better. If we can get something like 40, 45 million for him, I think that's, you know, that's a good sell. And I think that's possible. Now, where he goes to, I don't know. I understand why City would have interest again, Maresca, and I'm even surprised Maresca wants to buy him because, if anything,
Gusto played a ton of positions for him, innit? It's like the KDH transfer when we got him. I mean, from Leicester, and it was just someone who gets the system a bit.
Which is true. But he didn't look that great. Well, yeah, well, games he looked
They look
good.
like trash.
Exactly. He looked a lot better underneath the Pochettino system. So I'm actually surprised he's going in for good state. But hey, man, I'm not the manager, so yeah, if you can get like 50 million for him, I'll be happy. I'll take that and run. To be fair, so yeah.
Yeah, fairs. I hear all of that. I hear that. Oh no, we still got the left wing back situation just to round everything out. So this Pep Chavaria situation is just dragging way too much for my liking, and I just feel like look for other options. Really, like there's talks about us potentially trying to swing back for Lewis Hall, who still hasn't really got a lot of interest with a month left of the window and wants to leave because he doesn't really get with Eddie Howe. I feel like, look, get past this Chavaria situation because Rayo Vallecano are taking the piss out of us and we seem to have pissed them off and they've pissed us off. So unless Chavaria wants to force a move, try for Lewis Hall. And if not, I don't really have a lot of names for us right now. But what are you thinking about this whole wing-back situation? Because it's gone on for way too long with just a few weeks left before the start of the season.
No, I agree. But again, as much as I don't want to be talking about him, it all started with the sporting directors lowballing them. You're lowballing them, offering them disrespectful offers. So guess what they're going to do? Of course, they're going to put up the price and say that he's going to go for a ridiculous price. It was literally like the Sunderland, it's literally like the Xhaka deal all over again. As you said, for me, as much as, you know, Xabi Alonso wants the player and wants him to come through, and I hope we can get like a good deal agreed with Rayo Vallecano to bring him through the door. He isn't really all that because he's never won a Spanish cap. He's 28 years old, so if he comes in, he's going to come in as a backup, and I think we can get a lot better players for much cheaper, you know, in that position. As you said, Lewis Hall, I'd love Lewis Hall to come back.
Furthermore, I don't want to buy players who are just only viewed as like backups. Like, I get it with Alex Scott, but Alex Scott is 23 with the potential, or even younger than that, with the potential to break out into the squad. Chavaria is 28.
Yeah.
And like he's not going to get any better than what we've already got.
And he's never won a Spanish cap.
That just even adds to it. If you're to go for a Lewis Hall, I believe he's competing. I believe he could start. I believe it would be Lewis Hall versus Hato. And like that sounds a lot more appealing long term.
Yeah, and I agree. And that's what we need. And that's what I was banging on about towards the end of, you know, last season, even in the podcast as well. We need to bring in players that will raise the level of the squad. We can't bring in backup players. If you're going to sign a player, it needs to be someone that can compete for the starting position. Like, you know, Morgan Rogers, for example. If Cole Palmer has a bad game, Morgan Rogers could come and start ahead of him. Now, I'm not saying that Morgan Rogers will start on the bench, but if Xabi Alonso decides to play a back four and there's only one cam position, Cole Palmer could be starting there. But if he ain't playing good, then Cole Palmer might get shifted to the bench. You bring Rogers from the left into the cam position. That's competition, you know. Maxis Lacroix, like, you know, that's a guy that comes in and immediately improves the back line. You know, Ousmane Diomande, if they go in for an Ousmane Diomande, if one of the two centre-backs are garbage or one of the three centre-backs play garbage, they're getting dropped for Ousmane Diomande and he comes in immediately. So with Lewis Hall, as you said, Lewis Hall literally will be competing with Hato. If Hato has a dead game, guess what? You'll drop next game. Lewis Hall, that's your chance. But with Pep Chavaria, you know, it's going to be hard for Hato to get dropped, you know. I understand he played well against Madrid and all that, but as you said, he's not really a player that you look at and you're like, yes, that improves the level of the squad instantly. That raises the level of the squad instantly. So yeah, for me, I'd say let's go in for Liz Hall. I would understand at the same time why he wouldn't want to come, because the way that we dealt with him, I think was just, you know, was a sour taste in his mouth. Apparently, it left a really sour taste in his mouth. So I'd understand why he wouldn't want to come back. If we don't get him,
there's no one else really out for you right now. That's the thing.
Apart from Giovanni Quenda. And if we get Giovanni Quenda and let's say we play the back five, I think that will be okay for the time being, because he played a back five underneath Amorim at Sporting, was very, very good underneath the back five. And I think he played as a left winger or a left wing back in the Euros as well. The under 21 European Championships, the last one that they had, and he was great. I mean, he was one of the best players in that tournament. So, you know, it will be a lot on the kid. He is only what, 20, 21. So it will be a lot on the kid. But if Hatter doesn't play well, give Quendo a chance. You know, give Quendo a chance. Rotate between Quendo and Hatter for the time being, and then when January comes, then we can assess. Then we can look at the options again if Hall doesn't come through the door.
Yeah, completely agree, man. Jenny, completely agree with that. But you guys, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you agree or disagree with anything that we've said down in the comment section below. Hopefully, we got even more news to talk about over the next week. And hopefully, we get this centre-back and midfield situation sorted or a lot clearer. But yeah, big up, everyone. Like, subscribe to the channel. And we'll see you lot next week. Take care, everybody. Up the Chelsea.